Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we are looking at the Renaissance class. So, uh, starting off here at Memory Alpha, the Renaissance class being listed as a Federation starship that was in service with Starfleet during the 24th century. During the 2360s, this class was specifically the USS Ares, was utilized for deep space exploration missions. This comes to us from the Next Generation, the Icarus Factor, and Brothers. Let's see, it's kind of listed here as one of those kind of side notes that we get to see when everything got to all the enhanced and that for the imagery for the upgraded TV series. But what it actually was is not quite as clear. Some of the background information listed here, the information on the class designation was originally derived from the Okurtagram, described as a Starship mission status that was displayed in the observation lounge starting around the Next Generation season 4, and was originally described as a Star or in the Star Trek Encyclopedia, fourth edition, volume 2, page 215, stated that the class was named for the period of European history when civilization as we know it had a dramatic rebirth or renaissance. From the technical manual, according to the Star Trek Next Generation Tech Manual, the USS, I'm going to murder this, so Hokkaido, launched in 2337 and was the last starship of the class to be built. It was also the first to receive the ASRV upgrades. Um, Otherwise, we have the Renaissance class was first depicted in the DC Comics in the Star Trek Next Generation Volume 2, Issue 77 and 78 as a combination of a saucer section reminiscent to the Constitution 2 class design, equipped with a Galaxy class type large phaser arrays, Intrepid class style secondary hull with the warp nacelles fixed to the side positions even during flight or warp flight. Additionally, the nacelles from the Galaxy class style buzzard collectors. So, kind of a hodgepodge here. Now, getting from there, doing a little looking around, we also get from the Star Trek Theurgy Wiki. So, from here, it's stating that the Renaissance was a 24th century Federation Renaissance class starship operated by Starfleet. It was the prototype. Now, this is the prototype itself of its class. Now, it reads a little bit in here, really kind of just talking about some of the things that happened on there. But it does, for the better part, give us registries, the class type, um, where it was constructed, the Antares shipyards and Utopia, Plantatia, fleet yards, when it was launched in 2303 and then commissioned in 2305 after going through trial runs and so on and so forth. And, you get the idea here. Um, Dedication. Don't try to be a great man, just be a man and let history make its own judgments, which is a very good kind of phrase to live by. We have our dimensions here, our mass, decks being listed, and all the other fun things that I can use for making my stats and going from there. Now, with all that being said, let's get on over to where I first stumbled upon this. Now, as a light cruiser, having a length of 330 meters, a beam of 199 meters, and 19 decks with a crew complement of 240. Here on Advanced Starship Design Bureau, the Renaissance class, as they took that to heart to try and come up with their own imagining of the starship. So, in a lot of regards, to me, this looks so very much like a smaller version of what we now call um, the Ambassador class, which is what the Enterprise C was. So a smaller ship along that configuration to carry on scientific exploration missions, much like what the Constitution class had done previously. Smaller crews, being able to go for longer missions, not the full fledged big explorer, but a medium weight explorer in that same regard. All right, getting back into our other pictures that they had come up with, they have some nice design threads here, and I can't say otherwise, including having the deck layout and where our turbo lifts are going to be. So going all the way up to the bridge, coming all the way down, uh, going from the fore to the aft of the primary saucer, as well as down to the engineering. And one of the nice things I really want to kind of point out here is the fact that we have a little bit of a side kind of extra tube storage here. Now, to me, that's where you might have, say, two or three um, kind of turbo lifts, and you might be storing the extra ones when they're not needed in some of these other sections. That way, when you're just trying to get here and there, it's a little easier to get to, and it might just try and decide which one's in that area, if it needs to send one from farther away over to there or something along that line. You get the idea. Because the big question is, where do we always store the extra ones? And that's their solution to it, which is a very nice solution. Now, they came up with a nice plaque here for the USS Renaissance. Uh, I don't know if that's the same NX number that they had given on the other website or not. Just being honest here. Now, the Renaissance class is a compact multi-purpose ship developed to replace the Constitution class, a milestone in starship design. The prototype, the USS Renaissance, incorporated only few components and design features from the previous ship class. The ship was commissioned in 2305. Several batches of the Renaissance class ships were produced until 2337. The last ship, the USS Hokurio, and I'm sure I'm murdering that one again, was the only one delivered with ASRV autonomous survival and recovery vehicles. However, several ships of the newer batches were refitted in with the 2360s, and the ASRVs were added along with the Type A's 8 phaser strips. All right, and then they were nice enough to come up with a bunch of different views for us, so we will take full advantage of all that. Looking at our top down look to it, has a very nice look, pretty good Starfleet lines to her. Looking from the belly side, we see all the escape hatch or escape pods uh, kind of positioned here, and then we get a side view getting another one of those, and it looks pretty good. I'm not going to say it doesn't. It's got a very nice Federation look to it, keeping that classic view of what we typically think of as Federation starships. And then they were nice enough to even give us a little bit of a bridge. So really kind of harking back to more or less the Constitution in a lot of regards. We have um, a kind of center table there with our two chairs, our center command chair in the middle. We have two chairs on each side with, I'm going to guess, some sort of a sensor or other scientific databases, as well as possibly, and I'm not saying for sure, in the back here having either a weapons platform here, or it might even be in one of the other ones. Um, we have seen in the movie where in the front left corner, that's where Chekhov had kind of operated the torpedo launcher on manual in that position. So it's kind of danced around a little bit between different starships. So, it's always nice to see that. And then getting around to, we have the Renaissance with the uh, was it ambassador class, which I know I called it something else. Ambassador class. I don't know why my mind is messing up here today. I'm trying to do this and suddenly my mind just goes blank. It loves to do that on me. All right, so we get to see some different ships, a Miranda in the background, the uh, Renaissance right here in the foreground, and this other one here. Not sure as to which class that exactly is going to be. Being farther off, it is possible it's an ambassador class. All right, and then part two we have, as it loads up, the ambassador here as well as the Renaissance. And they do fit in pretty well together. They have similar kind of lines here. It does work out pretty good. Top down model, keeping that nice look. We do have a nice landing platform here, trying to bring some, whatever shuttles in, a great line up there. And again, then we get to see how this is all done up. I don't know how they do that. These guys are good at doing what they do. Definitely not something I'm able to do. All right. With this, credits go to original design by uh, Bernard, dedication plaque by Jason, model in True Space 2 by Dave S., and then 3D model by Robert Coswell. Uh, you know, I don't know these people individually. It's just by luck that and all the other lookings arounds that I had found this many years ago, and the fact that it's still up is a great testament to them and their love and dedication to Star Trek. So, with that, let's get on over to our D6 and see what I've come up with us for today. Okay, so looking at the Renaissance light cruiser, let's see what we have changed here and what we can make some sense out of. So this is going to be a light cruiser. Now I still have it listed as a frigate here. It is meant to be a light cruiser, so let's kind of get that all changed up as Indy's trying to say hello to everyone. And I think she wants to be our second in command here. All right, so we have it at light cruiser now, with a length of 330 meters by 199 meters and 70.4 meters tall. This is actually about a size 6 ship. Now, the last time we did one of these, I'm trying to see what ship that was. I think it was, oh boy, shoot, I can't see what that is anymore. Anyways, the last ship that we had kind of gone off of, that one was listed as a size 7 and it should have been a size 6. So I goofed up on that one. Taking the ship mass from what we had seen here, being 1,024,700 metric tons, is what was listed from our website here. So that's what I kind of put it at. Our autopilot, I'm keeping that as at a 2D plus 2, a crew of 240 with a skeleton crew of 24 with a plus 10 for operating anything, trying to keep things going on par. Now, you'll always notice, and I think I've mentioned this in some of the other videos, for a skeleton crew, I'm just doing a 10% of whatever we have. So just kind of keeps things on average here. And we do have passenger complement of roughly about 30 personnel. Our cargo capacity is being listed here, keeping at 50,000 metric tons that we had from our previous ship, and our consumables again from the previous ship at about 2 years. Although I do think that one of the web pages that we had seen had it at about 3. Either way, however you want to work that out, would work pretty well. Um, our standard warp drive is going to be a 6.5. Our maximum warp would be a 7.3, and max rated was listed as a 9.6 for 6 hours. And of course, I have covered up a warp 1 or a hyperdrive of, what is it, 8 for backup and 1 for primary, if I was going to actually throw this over to our Star Wars to run it along with anything else there. A nav computer is definitely going to be on board, and our maneuverability is a 1D. Keeping our space still at about at a movement of 8, our hull at a 3D plus 1, and shields at a 1D plus 2. I believe I had those as a holdover from our last ship, just being honest here, as well as our sensors here being the passive at 4 kilometers with a 1D plus 1 bonus, an active scan at 12 kilometers at a 2D bonus and an active search at 15 kilometers at a 3D bonus, and a focus out to 500 meters at a 3D plus 2 bonus. But the last ship that we had done, um, I think it may have been the Deneva here. I'm not 100% certain where we were on that. Um, just being honest, uh, it is just one of those things. It was a newer ship, roughly about the same time, so I figured that we could kind of share those, and that's the reason why I had done what I had done. Okay, so getting into our weapon systems, it was listed as having about 6 Type 8 phaser banks, and then later on in the last one, it was not just phaser banks but phaser arrays. So keep that in mind. Um, we're going to have the crew of one. Fire control is 2D. Damage would be at a 3D for a Type 8 phaser bank. Uh, and the rate of fire could be anywhere from 1 to 5. So I kept it at a 4, figuring that should work out pretty well. Seeing that they were throwing what is somewhat an experimental, as one of the listings had mentioned, um, a rate of 4 would kind of work a little bit in their favor for that. We do have the full 4 photon torpedo launchers, 2 forward and 2 aft. Again, we're going to have a fire control of 2D. I didn't change the ammunition or anything, so we still have 80 Type 2 photon torpedoes, a spread of 5, and a damage of 4D plus 2. That's all a holdover from the last ship. I didn't see a big need to change that. I figure we're probably using the same type of photon torpedoes. The differences are now what they had listed was a Type 50 photon torpedo, but then when we're going through the books, they have it listed as something different. So which one do I really grab? Type 2, Type 3, Type 4? I don't have a direct correlation between that because when you're grabbing from one system to another, sometimes things just don't fully mesh up. So again, having something in that same era of production, I figured that they're probably going to use something that's a tried and true system that's going into the next generation of um, starships. They're going to get the same here, keeping that in that same frame of mind. Now we do have 2 Class Delta tractor beams, 1 forward, 1 aft, with a strength of 4D plus 2. Of course, we have our Class Alpha tractor beam for our shuttle bay with a strength of 3. Uh, Keeping from the same crew quarters, we have barracks for 200 basic for 50, expanded for 20, and 10 luxury. Actually, I forgot to change the decks here, so we caught me in another little slip up here. It is to have 19 decks here. We do have 160 escape pods with a capacity for 4 each, and I did change it, so it is commissioned in the year of 2303. Actually, it was commissioned in 2305. It was, I should change that. It was uh, finished in 2303, but it had 2 years worth of trials and everything else before it actually got commissioned, uh, having new systems and everything else. All right, keeping our transporters in that pretty much the same. I didn't see a big need to change things. We have 4 personal transporters with a capacity for 6 persons each, 4 emergency transporters with a capacity for 22 persons each, and 3 cargo transporters for 400 kilograms each transporter. For our shuttlecraft, having it listed, now they did have it broken down to 4 shuttles of this, 4 shuttles of that. I just put it as 8 shuttlecraft, and they had 15 work bees, which is what I usually consider for our shuttle pods. So we have 15 shuttle pods and roughly about 40 probes, keeping it roughly about a standard here. And I think that really rounds everything off pretty good. Now, again, and as always, I've said this on a lot of videos, if anything that I come up with does not work for how you would run it, by all means, take it and modify it to what works for you. Um, especially when we get ships that we're getting from one system to another or something else, or we need a ship to have something different. There's nothing to say that Maybe the one that I've got listed that may not work for you could be a one off. They tried something different on that, or maybe the ship that you have that you want your crew to run on could be another one off that they accelerated, really excelled at one thing or another, um, just as a trial run. And for some reason, it just didn't get carried on over. Um, I know when we talk about the Enterprise, I think one of the best systems that they had done, I think it was from Decipher, they had mentioned that when you level your characters up, you should have a leveling system for your ship as well, which I've always kind of liked that idea because the ship becomes a character of its own. The Enterprise was really a character of its own inside the entire franchise. And Scotty always upgrading the ship to do what it needed to do, having character points that could get put into the ship to be able to, give it a better autopilot or uh, damage capabilities or hull or whatever the case may be, is a way of saying this ship going through all the adventures that it went through can show for it by having, extra things that some other ship doesn't. Um, Maybe because one ship was involved in more combat missions, that one got upgraded to excel at combat, where something else may have gotten another ship of that same series did a lot more scientific missions and maybe needed to be upgraded more for its science um, exploratory base. So um, I always thought that was a very nice nod to why the Enterprise might be a little bit more unique in so many regards than maybe some other ships. So, with that being said, thank you so very much for joining me today. It is wonderful having you here. I hope you're doing well, and I will see you in the next video.